And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's kitchen chat with the Weeknight Vegan. And this is where you're going to learn about all kinds of fun things to prepare for your family. And here we also do two things. We cook a little and we chat a little. But we're not just chit-chatting about anything. We are talking about those things that are going to make our family more healthy. And we're going to do it in a loving way. Now, today, we're talking about the plant-based journey because every day when you're living a plant-based lifestyle, every day is a part of the journey. And, we're trying to make that journey as easy as possible. We want to be able to put the dinner on the table as quickly as possible and to make sure that it tastes delicious. And if it tastes delicious, then guess what? People are going to eat it. Now, so we're going to be working on that. First of all, I have a few things that I need to get into the oven immediately so that we can get these things finished up before we leave today. So I'm starting here with a tray of Roma tomatoes that I have cut into quarters. I'm going to do a little bit of seasoning. And for this, I'm going to be using our house seasoning because it has pepper, it has onion powder, and it also has lots of garlic powder. So we want these tomatoes to be well seasoned, but we're going to put them in the oven, in a 425 oven. And I turned it up because normally I would probably just put them in the oven and just let them cook until they get the way I think they ought to look. But and we'll talk a little bit more about that because I do want the edges somewhat brown. And so I'm sprinkling these really well because I want every bite of tomato to be delicious. And you remember that we're cutting back on the salt. And in fact, I'm not using salt today at all. So, and I'm going to try not to use it ever from now until. So anyway, so we have seasoned up these tomatoes. I'm also going to sprinkle a little bit of dried basil that I want to be able to put on there because I want a little Italian flavor to it. Because what we're going to do is that we're going to use some sun-dried tomatoes and we're going to turn those sun-dried tomatoes into our little pieces of bacon because we're making a nice tomato carbonara. And I love carbonara, but my favorite carbonara has bacon. So I'm going to use some sun-dried tomatoes and see if I can get these sun-dried tomatoes to taste just like and have the texture like our pieces of bacon. So that's where we're starting. So I have all the tomatoes here that I'm going to put in the 425 oven. I also have pasta going because we have to have pasta when we're doing this as well. So I'm going to take one pan out and it's nice and hot. I need that for our bacon. I'm hoping I can get this pan in. Oops, I'm going to have to turn it this way. So we got the first pan in. Now let me get I'm going to put these out to protect my top. And I think I'll use one of my gloves since I've got them handy. But we're going to bring that hot tray over. And this is where we're going to be putting the sun-dried tomatoes. Now, I'm going to spread a little bit of a reusable sheet onto our surface. And I can move this. All right. Now, so what we're going to do with these sun-dried tomatoes is that we're going to add some garlic And we are going to use minced garlic. So I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons. And I'm not going to get crazy with the garlic because, you know, garlic has a tendency sometimes to burn. So I'm going to put garlic on it. I'm also going to add a couple of dashes of liquid smoke. Now, liquid smoke, I don't use a lot of because of the fact it does have a tendency to be a tad bit salty. So we're going to add in about a teaspoon, really it was a little less than a teaspoon of salt that we're going to be mixing in with our sun-dried tomatoes. We're going to add in some smoked paprika. I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of smoked paprika because we want the smokiness, remember? And I'm going to add in just a touch, only because I know the liquid smoke has a little bit of saltiness. I'm going to add in just a couple of dashes of the Bragg's aminos to this. I'm going to get all of this well mixed, and then we're going to place these out on the sheet pan. Okay, let's get all of that nice and mixed. All right, there we go. Now, I'm going to spread these out on our pan. And I have to be a little bit careful, so I need a glove because remember, we just took this out of the stove. So I'm just going to kind of spread these out, and I know they're going to, I want them to get nice and hot and almost crispy like bacon. Now that's the plan. That's what I'm thinking I can do. And I think I can if I can get these to work just perfectly. This should work. I've done it before, but I had to be patient with it, and I haven't done it when I'm trying to keep within a time frame. So let's see if we can get this done in our time frame. How are you guys doing? I hope you had a great week last week, as well as a wonderful weekend. We've had a great weekend, and we're still enjoying the week. I know some of you, let me taste this. Oh yeah, that's going to make good bacon. All right, now I'm going to place this into our oven, our 425 oven. It's right under there. Okay, so everything's in the oven. I'm going to set our timer for about 30 minutes. And that's just so that while I'm talking to you, I won't get so caught up that I forget that I have them in the oven. I'm also going to move my pot with my pasta back. And I'm going to cut that eye off. My pasta's ready. I'm just going to let it sit there. Now, I'm using whole grain pasta. So I'm going to bring you guys over here to the stove. And we're using whole grain pasta. Hello, hello, hello. All right, Karen, glad to see you. Thank you so much for reminding me because, you know, when I'm doing a lot of talking and trying to cook and talk, that so much gets forgotten. I am so glad. Okay, I'll put the question up. The question is, could I use sun-dried tomatoes and season them up and bake them some? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to do some baking, and we could have done it. We could have done all of it as sun-dried tomatoes, but I kind of wanted the, you know how we like tomatoes, so just we like tomatoes. What can I say? So that's the reason why I added the additional tomatoes. Now, I know that tray was full of tomatoes, but let me tell you, all those tomatoes are not going to go in this carbonara because you're right. We won't need all of that. Now, so I have here in the pan some plant butter that I've melted. I'll try to get you at a good angle. All right, we got our plant butter here. I'm going to place in here our 1 can of cannellini beans. And everything's on low. So I've got my beans, rinsed beans, and I'm going to add just a little bit at this point, and we'll adjust the amount of liquid because I'm probably going to use a little bit of that pasta liquid. Now I'm putting cannellini beans in and liquid because here we're going to develop a sauce. So let's get that done. Let me make sure I've got everything. I've got my beans, and we're going to do a little blending. I'm going to use the immersion blender because I want us to have a nice sauce base. Now I want to hold it. Okay, there we go. So I'm breaking these up. And I'm just going to keep working with these until I get them somewhat creamy. And it's going to take a minute. So if it's a little too noisy, I'm sorry. But hopefully you'll be able to see how the texture is going to change. And it's a little messy doing these beans. They are not as cooperative as you think. I think I'm turning it this way. I need a way to be able to, there we go. I need to be able to you have to get your finger in the right place for this to work. All right, so there we go. I'm just working on those beans, getting them broken up. And I'm going to turn the heat up on the stove because at this point, they're still room temperature. Okay, so we're going to stop at this point, and I'm going to heat these up, get them a little hot because we're going to come back and do a little blending later on too. So I'm going to bring this temperature up. I got my notes here to make sure I do it right. We got our beans in our stock, and now we're also going to add onions. And I have my onions already diced. I'm going to put in, just because remember, we got to blend this. I'm going to add a good handful of onions. Now, if you like onions like we do, then you may add a little extra. But if that's not your thing, then just put enough to give you good seasoning. So we've got onions in. I'm cutting the heat up because I want this to start to boil. Now our pasta is ready, yay. And we're going to keep an eye on this mixture because I want these to start to bubble. I want this to bubble. And we have in about a cup of onions. All right, so we got those going. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to add also a little bit of our Greggs, just a little, a couple of shakes at this point. And just to give us, remember, we're trying to raise that spice level. I'm also going to add some of our house seasoning because the sauce needs to be seasoned as well. Now I'm going to put in a heaping spoon of our sauce. And I'm going to stop there because at this point, I will not have tasted the salt yet, or the sauce yet. So I'm stirring that to make sure that everything is well mixed. We're going to add some minced garlic. Remember, this needs to be well seasoned. I think I have a spoon over here. Okay. And I'm going to add a heaping teaspoon and a half of garlic, because remember, we were kind of light on the garlic with the tomatoes. Okay, so there we go. There we go. Now, I've turned this up high enough for it to kind of come up to temperature, but I'm going to let it bubble for just a little while longer to make sure that our beans get a little softer. And I'm going to add just a little bit of that pasta sauce into our main sauce. So let me get a spoon for that. This spoon measures about a half cup. So I've got a half cup of our pasta sauce that I'm going to put in. And remember, at this point, we have not added any salt. If you like more pepper, at this point, you can certainly add more pepper if you think it needs it. I'm not going to do that just yet, even though you know I like my pepper. But I'm not going to do that because of the fact that I know I've seasoned our tomatoes, both our sun-dried as well as the just regular tomatoes. So we're going to take care of that. Now, I am going to add just a touch of the smoked paprika into our sauce, because we want all of this to be able to come together. Now, if you happen to have some white wine, you could certainly add a little bit of white wine in. I don't think I do. I have red wine, and I may add just a little touch of red wine just to give it a little extra flavor to it. But I know I'm not going to add a lot because I don't want to change the color. Okay. Now I'm going to take this spoon, see where we are. That's a good start. That's really a good start. Okay. Now, this is what I'm going to do. Just because I've got it, I'm going to add a splash, because I really don't want to change the color much. So that was just a splash of wine. Now, if I had white wine, I would definitely add a good cup of white wine. But I'm out, and wine is something I've kind of cut back on. And I do like wine, but not every day. Okay, I'm going to add one more scoop of pasta water, because I want this just a little loose, because I know once those tomatoes go in, it's going to be good, as Andy Griffith would say. It's going to be delicious. All right, now let's see if we can do a little more blending. And this is going to help to thicken that sauce a little bit. Because we want a nice sauce. Now, for those of you who are coming in early, we've already put some sun-dried tomatoes into the oven. We have already placed some plum tomatoes as well into the oven. And what I'm doing right now, I had a can of cannellini beans that I am blending to be a part of the sauce because we want a nice smooth sauce. Okay. All right. So let's see how we're doing. Our sauce is coming along. Now I'm going to cut this sauce down just a little bit and put it on low at this point because this will give us a chance to talk. We've got a little bit of time that we can talk about our journey. Hello, hello, hello. I am making a vegan carbonara. And so what we've done is that we're going to try to replicate the bacon in the form of using the sun-dried tomatoes. Now, I also see Michelle's letting us know that her hubby is having a stress test this afternoon. And we certainly pray, Michelle, right now in the name of Jesus, that your husband's stress levels, that they will calm down. His anxiety will just be gone. He will be able to find peace that he has not experienced in quite a while, as well as you, because when our partners are under stress or they're not feeling well, we're also under stress. And we are praying this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Now, I hope you are able to come back later and let us know and share with us in the comment box. Let us know how he does, and we'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Now, so our sauce is bubbling here. Our pasta's ready. I'm gonna take a little peek. I can't get you quite as low as I'd like to be able to get you into the oven, but I can certainly get into the oven. And you know, I'm looking at my sun-dried tomatoes. Let's see. Oh yeah, they are starting to get that little bacony look to them. I'm gonna give them just a little bit of a stir, so that I want them to be nice and crispy, just like bacon. I don't know if you can, now, let me see if I can get you where you can see. Get you out a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we're going to keep this bacon in here. It still has about another 15 minutes. Now, I don't want it to burn, but I do want it to get as crispy as we can possibly get. So there we go. We got that stirred up. We're going to put that back in and let it finish this 15 minutes. Now our tomatoes are coming along. We want them to continue to cook as well. There we go. Now, so let's talk. Let's see what we have to learn today. You know, we're always learning, and that's a good thing. So there's some things that have been on my mind to make sure that I talk with you about. And I'm putting my liquid smoke over here because I forgot to add it to the sauce. So I will put that in the sauce before it's all over with. Now, there are some things that I found for me that I definitely needed to improve upon. And so what I did was I made a list of some of the things I knew I was going to have to do. And if I'm having to do it, I figure some of you are going to have to do it too, because I have some things I really struggle with. First of all, processed food. You know, all of us, if we go in our pantries, most of us have some type of processed food in our pantry. Sometimes when you look at those labels, you'll find that they have words and explanations on the ingredients list that we have no clue what they mean. So that's not a good thing. Our ingredients list should be such that we know exactly what's being listed. And just as a reminder, the higher up on the list, the first thing that your ingredients list is that part that has the heaviest amount. And so say, for instance, if it starts out ingredients and it says whole wheat, then that's going to be the greatest portion. And then from there, it goes on down the list. Now, typically, our processed foods, as I said, have unhealthy fats. They usually have hidden sugars. I was amazed. I looked up some information on sugar this weekend, only to find I wanted to know some of the names of what to recognize when I was trying to spot whether or not sugar was in something that I was purchasing, only to find there are over 150 different names for sugars. Oh my goodness. And none of them said apples, bananas, lemons, oranges, or fruits, or vegetables. None of that was listed. All of these strange names, and some of them, the names are so long that I can't even stretch my arms wide enough for that. So that's something we don't need. Sodium. We can look at the ingredients list on the back. We can see how much sodium we are taking in just by using those particular items. And then we won't even get into the artificial stuff that's going into it, whether it's food coloring or whatever it may be. Usually there's something artificial, none of which is necessarily good. You know, cereals. I love Honey and Nut Cheerios, but you know what? It has a little teeny bit of honey because it's way down there at the end, but it has certain ingredients that aren't necessarily at the top of the food chain that we should be eating. Now, our prepackaged meals have all kinds of ingredients that we probably don't necessarily need, or if we're going to have them in a very small dosage. I hate to say don't have it because that just kind of makes you want it. And so, you know, just think about it. If you're going to have something like that, have a small amount of it and don't have it very frequently. Now, sugary beverages are one of the things that for today's adult and children are things that we all consume, we have consumed. And I can think back, I couldn't tell you how many pitchers of Kool-Aid that I have fixed, or sugary drinks that we fixed, and how many soft drinks we have fixed. And we won't even talk about the Diet Coke or the Diet Pepsi. I like Diet Coke. And but some of those, even some of the sweetened teas, are those that say no sugar. Some of those items aren't necessarily good for you. 1 second. Conway, call your son. You hear me? Okay. Lou's on the way. Lou and them will be here too. Lou, Shauna. Okay. Now, let's talk about our trans fats. You know, when you start to combine all of these things together, our trans fats are those partially hydrogenated oils, and they are known directly to raise our bad cholesterol levels. So what does that say to us? Don't use them. Now, I'm starting to smell those sun-dried tomatoes, so that means we need to get those out of the oven. Let's come around here. Oh, yeah. They are nice and crispy, just the way we wanted them. And if some of them are a little charred, it's okay, because that's just going to add to our smoky flavor. I'm going to leave our regular tomatoes in, and in fact, Let me turn you this way. We're going to, you can see how nice and toasty they are. I'm going to turn on my broiler now that I've taken these out. And I think I'm going to try to taste one of these. They smell good. They're nice and crispy. That's good. I think they're going to work. All right. Sun-dried tomatoes, ready. Our sauce is ready. So let's continue on those hydrogenated oils. You know, we talk about our olive oils. We even have to be careful when we're purchasing our olive oils, our avocado oils, our plant-based oils, to look and make sure that when you look at the ingredients list, that if it's olive oil, that's the only thing listed. Nothing else should be listed under those ingredients other than olive oils. Let's face it, olive oil, olives, done. Now, processed meats. How many of you like hot dogs? It's processed. Bologna, processed. Bacon has a certain amount of processing that goes with it. So we have to be careful and limit the amount of those products that we put into our body. Also, our refined grains. White flour is at the top of the list. It's a major thing. Even white rice. We're not saying you can't have it. I'm saying don't do it every day. Don't have it every day. We're not going to eat it every day. We're going to have it in very small doses when we do have it. A lot of our breakfast cereals contain white flour. Now, most of them have had fiber and vitamins and minerals that have been stripped away in those cereals. And they have tried to add artificial items in to be able to add to that processing. And so, sorry guys, the phone's got to get picked up upstairs. So our blood sugars are something that all of us are struggling with, trying to keep our blood sugars from spiking. And we want to make sure that if we're going to use whole grains, that we're using hopefully organic, and we're looking at that ingredients list to make sure that nothing unusual and strange has been added to what's going to go into our body. So I'm going back to sugar because sugar is the largest culprit of the diseases that are striking people on the planet. You know, it used to be you only heard of cancer with someone who was 70, 80 years old. You didn't hear about people who are 20, 18, 30s having cancer. And now we do more and more. So what is that saying? That's saying that there's something in our diets, something in the environment that is affecting our bodies. So let's talk about sugar. First of all, sugar is an empty calorie. You know, if you're going to have something sweet, you are burning calories that you could have really good food, but you've consumed all of it in sugar. It is the biggest culprit of spiking our blood sugar levels. And it is the largest culprit for increasing our risk for diabetes, those who are pre-diabetic, for those who have cholesterol issues, for those who have heart issues and high blood pressure issues, all of those things. Teeth decay, sugar, cavities, sugar, gum disease, sugar. Inflammation. Oh my goodness. Don't think that if you're skinny that you don't have problems with inflammation. It can happen to you. So always go back. That's where you start. Go back. Look at the diet. See what is it you ate that week. I know sometimes if I get really carried away with bread, a really good white bread, and eat a little too much, I will start to have some aching because of inflammation. Arthritis is an inflammatory situation. We're dealing with inflammation. So we have to be careful. And let's just talk about the fact sugar is addictive. It is as addictive as people who drink too much, smoke too much, whatever the case may be. Sugar is addictive. Those people who feel like they just have to have something sweet, give them an apple, give them an orange, give them something that is natural and has natural sugar rather than giving them a spoonful of sugar. Because, I remember the song in the movie that said a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Yes, it does. And it tastes great. But for a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, they can probably handle a little bit of the sugar and they're burning off enough that it won't really badly impact their body. But for those of us who are working, sitting at a desk, unless we're gymnasts or are track stars, that sugar is going to be in the body and it is going to react with the body. So just keep that in mind. Now, it is worth noting the fact that we get our carbs from our fruits, our vegetables, our starches, and all white potatoes are not bad. But we're not going to eat a lot of them. We can have more sweet potatoes than we can have white potatoes. We can have white rice, but we're not going to have it every day, and we're not going to have it in large quantities. So those are some of the things that we have to take a look at as we're going along our journey. How can we tweak our diet so that we end up with a much healthier outcome? I'm smelling. Let's see what we got, because remember, I turned the oven to broil, and we have our tomatoes in here. Oh yeah, oh yeah. They still have a few more minutes. Now, I'm over here. Let's start to get back to our sauce. And, it's always fun to be able to talk a little, to learn a little, and of course, we're going to cook a little. So I've got our sauce going. Oh yeah, our sauce is really doing a good job. All right, there's our timer. And I'm going to add just a splash more of our vegetable broth. Whoop. Now, how did he jump in there? Got to fish the top out. Okay, better stop top. And what you're looking for is that you want to have a pretty smooth sauce. Now, we did a lot of blending, and we're going to do a little more blending. I'm not going to put our sun-dried tomatoes in because, remember, they're representing the bacon, so we want to be able to see that. I've got our pasta over here. I'm going to add another almost half cup of pasta. I'm going to put in just a little bit of our liquid smoke and give all of this a good stir. Then we're going to taste it and see how we're coming along. Okay. All right, let's give this a taste. I like the flavor. Now, if you're not totally plant-based At this point, you might add a little, you might want to sprinkle a little Parmesan in the end. I can tell you I'm not going to do that, but what I am going to do, I'm going to add my cheese, which is going to be just a little bit of nutritional yeast. I'm going to put a couple of teaspoons of nutritional yeast in. There's one. We've got 2 teaspoons of nutritional yeast. Get that all stirred up well. That's going to also add to the nice thickness that we want, because we want it somewhat thick, but not totally thick. Now remember, this is a vegan version of carbonara. So it's not going to look exactly like what you would expect it to look like if we were making the real thing. Now, Tutu loves Minnie, which is Karen. Karen says she loves hot dogs and bacon and pepperoni. Oh, yes, yes, yes. She says, well, they have limit to these items to once or twice monthly. She said it's hard to give up a pizza with pepperoni. I'm with you. I'm with you. I love pizza. And we usually have pizza on Friday. So what I've opted to do is to go with a thin crust pizza and do it vegetarian. So that's been my option of being able to still get the vegetables in and still have the pizza. But I do miss all the other goodies that go on top of it. She says that she has type 2 diabetes. So she says she's already given up the processed foods and the added sugar. Yay! You know, every step that we make and every positive change that we make puts us one more step closer to a healthy body. And that's what we want. That's what we want. All right. Now, my tomatoes have been in, and you know, I put them under the broiler. Let's see how they're doing. And I told you that I was not going to put all of these tomatoes into our sauce. So I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to use our spoon here. And those that are the crispiest are going to be the ones that I put over in our sauce. So those that have the darkest tips are going to get to swim in the sauce. And we're going to make our own little roasted tomato sauce. It's going to taste very fresh. And the other tomatoes, I'm going to put them back in, let them roast just a little while longer, and save them for a dish later this week. All right. So there we go. So you can see we still have some on our pan. Okay, so those are still on our pan, and they're going to go back in the oven. Okay, we've got our spurtle going. Now I'm going to kind of mash these up, break them up, so that we're adding that tomatoey flavor to our sauce. Then you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little blending. Now I could certainly put all of this into my Ninja and just blend this whole sauce. And you know, I think that's exactly what I'll do. So we'll come out with a smoother sauce. Let me put this up. And I've got the Ninja here. There we go. Got the Ninja. Use our little scoop we had for our pasta water. And I'm going to add quite a bit of this into our Ninja. Because we want this sauce to be pretty smooth. Now I have to be very careful when I blend this because it is hot. So I'm going to lay a towel on top of it. And look at what we got here. Okay, got everything on low. All right. So I'm going to put you can see where I am. I'm going to turn our Ninja out. Put the top on. I'm going to lift this. Let me get a towel because you know it's going to splash. On and all right. So that was pretty good and not too terribly messy. All right, our sauce is here, nice and blended. So we can take this off. I'm going to put just a couple of drops of our pasta water in, just to mix it up a little bit. We want all of that goodness out of there, guys. Okay. There we go. Now, let's give everything a good shake. Oh, yeah, we've got a nice, smooth sauce. Now, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take all of our little bits of sun-dried tomatoes. We're going to add them into our sauce. Oh, yeah. Yummy, yummy. Get all of that nice and mixed up. That's our bacon. And we're going to start to add our pasta into the mixture. But I had taken my pasta. But we'll do it like this. Turn the pasta over. And I made way more pasta than I'm going to need for tonight. Now, I'm using whole wheat pasta. So I cooked about a pound of whole wheat pasta. And see how this goes. We're going to mix it up. My stove is still on low. Oh, yeah. Now, just because we can, I'm going to add a little more of the pasta water in. Because I know, you know how pasta is. It's going to soak a lot of this liquid up, and we certainly want it to do that. So I'm going to let all of this come back to temperature. See how close I can get you. And bring you down. There's our liquid. Now first, with a spoon. Now we have to check. Oh, that's good. That's good. And I don't think it needs anything. I don't think it doesn't need pepper, doesn't need any more garlic. Remember, we put all of that on our tomatoes as well as our sun-dried tomatoes as well as our regular tomatoes. So we have a great sauce is right here. So I'm going to turn this up just a little bit so we can really start to bubble. And then we're going to get it into a dish. Now, what are your plans for this week? What are you cooking this week? Karen said that maybe we can find a way to make roasted tomatoes taste like pepperoni since they can mimic bacon flavor in the dish. You are absolutely right. We're going to have to work on that, see what we can do. I'm sure there is some way and keep it healthy so that we can mimic that pepperoni. But you know, I like pizza even with sun-dried tomatoes. And using when you see the sun-dried tomatoes, using those whole sun-dried tomatoes, get them nice and seasoned up. Under normal circumstances, this bottle of liquid smoke will last forever on my shelf because I don't use it that often. But liquid smoke really is one of the keys to being able to have that somewhat of that flavor and that we're kind of looking for in the background when we're thinking about our pepperoni. We don't even think about that, but pepperoni is smoky. So we want those smoky flavors like the smoked paprika, like the liquid smoke. And you might even be able to add a touch of, I don't have any, but you might be able to add a little miso into the mixture to kind of give it a little different taste. So we might be able to get close, but I'm sure pepperoni is pepperoni. So I'm going to say if you're going to have pepperoni, then just cut back on how much pepperoni that you have. But you know, it's all good. And remember, it's a daily journey. And so let's face it, am I going to go the rest of my life and not have pepperoni? Not on your life. So I'm going to have a piece of pepperoni every now and then just to kind of remember. And but I'm not going to make it a major staple in my diet. And you probably won't either. But oh, how good it is. All right. Now, I feel it's starting to get hot. I don't want to turn it up so high that it burns, but I do want it nice and hot. I'm going to get a bowl. And it's just about lunchtime here in the kitchen. So I know that I'm looking, I probably could drop a little bit more pasta in. And I'm playing with how much. I'm thinking you're probably going to want close to a pound in your mixture. Just depends on how juicy your sauce is. But I'm looking at mine thinking, okay, I can do a little more pasta because after all, it's a carbonara. And we're not using any oils. And we only had a teeny tiny bit of salt that came from the liquid smoke. But the salt was at the bottom of the list. So there's not even a lot of salt in there. Now, there are probably a few other things that some people may think we shouldn't have. It has, of course, water. It has hickory smoke flavor. It has vinegar. It has molasses. It does have a caramel color. So if you're sensitive to coloring, be careful with that. But like I said, you saw, we only put a couple of shakes in there. So it is not a major portion of this dish. Oh man, this looks great. I'm going to get that bowl and we are going to taste it and see if it's good. Now, I know the big guy had just come in and he's hungry. So we're going to get him some food. I don't know what I did with my, there he is. Nope, not it. I know I had my pasta bowl out. Okay, it's really starting to bubble under there. That's a good thing. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit anyway over here in my bowl. Enough so that we can taste it and know how it's going to taste. I want some of the, make sure I get some of those sun-dried tomatoes. There we go. And I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of green onion on top of mine. So there we go. So let's come over here so we can start to see how this is going to go. I'm going to get a fork and we're going to do a little tasting. Here we go. Now it's time for lunch. There we go. This would be a great dish. Of course, it's great for dinner, our weeknight dinners. You saw, it came together pretty quick. And a lot of things I had already prepped. You could certainly do the tomatoes and the sun-dried tomatoes. You won't want to do in advance, but you will want to make sure that they're done. And they came together in 20 minutes. Oh, this is good. Oh, yeah. Now, because we blended the tomatoes and the bean mixture, it has great textures. Now, I'm going to try to make sure I get one of these little sun-dried tomatoes in the next mouthful. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. They're a little crispy. They mimic the bacon. They certainly look like bacon. You know, guys, for a very small amount of time, this is a delicious lunch and could certainly be on your dinner table very, very soon. To all of you, this has been so much fun. Now, we are going to continue our journey. We're going to be talking about a few things. We're probably going to continue to take a look at our plant-based, journey, some of the things. We're going to talk about those things that we should be doing next week. And those things that we certainly want to add to our repertoire of meals and menus, and start to look at some of the sources that we can use. We're going to talk about some of the tools that we use regularly here in the kitchen. All of those things are going to be a part of the next few weeks. And we're focusing because what I'm hoping, this is my desire, is that As I learn, I want to share with you. As you learn, then you will practice. And, practice takes time. And that you will start to see the benefits and share with someone else. Because as we share those things that are positive, those things that are beneficial and nutritional to our body and to our families, then we're doing our job here as the home cook. So I'm hoping you have enjoyed today. I'm hoping you'll try this vegan tomato spaghetti carbonara, because it doesn't look like our everyday carbonara. Let me just get that straight. It is not, but it certainly will keep you from craving carbonara. And this is carbonara that you can have and that is going to taste good on your table. So God bless each of you. I keep Michelle on your heart and in your mind and in your prayers. And I'll see you soon right here in the kitchen of Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme. Mwah. Have a great week.